Welcome to Advocate Today. I'm Tracy E. Gilchrist. The new ABC comedy, Not Dead Yet, tells the story of Nell Serrano, played by Jane the Virgin star Gina Rodriguez. She's broke, newly single, and hopes to restart a life she left behind. When she lands a job as an obituary writer, the ghosts of the people she writes about appear to her. I caught up with the series star Josh Banday, who plays Dennis. We talked about loss and what it means to him that the series features his identity as a Black and bisexual man on a network show. I do want to say I've watched a few episodes of Not Dead Yet at this point, and I'm really enjoying it. Would you give a little background about what that show is about?
Sure. It's the story of a self-professed 40-year-old fuck up who whose life explodes and she's forced to start all over again.
Yeah.
And so she comes back home and starts working for a newspaper that her two friends were also working at, and gets started in the obituaries section and finds out that she can actually see the ghosts of the people that she's writing about.
Yeah, and it stars Gina Rodriguez
Yes.
as Nell, and you play her editor, Dennis. And it's an interesting thing because I come from having been editor in chief of the Advocate, and we have one writer who really does a lot of taking on of the obituaries, and it's such an important job because you're telling this story of people who often were never written about. And I wonder if you would just talk a little bit about kind of learning about in this role.
I mean, I watched a lot of interviews with editors, especially of like local newspapers and how they
Mm.
got to where they are and how they think about their job.
Yeah.
But about obituaries specifically, like I kind of became obsessed after
Yeah.
starting this,
Hmm.
just because the task of summing up someone's life seems just so daunting. You know, we do all this stuff, we live so many different lives within our life. It's like, how do you pick and what do you pick?
Right.
The whole show starts with uh, how do you measure a life well lived?
Mm.
You know, and I that's what I carried with me when I was reading those obituaries, and it's more power to those writers. It is crazy and amazing what they do sometimes.
Yeah, it's so important and beautiful. And the other thing this series is doing is shining a light on local newspapers, which are, thanks to the internet, in peril.
Yes.
And yeah, I worked for a local newspaper back in Connecticut many years ago, and it's it's an incredibly important job. And I wonder, would you talk a little bit about what you learned about those entities as well?
You know, it really highlighted for me the pace of journalism and how important it is sometimes for the news to take its time. You
Mm.
know, sort of tracking how quickly we get information after an event happens. And there's some ways there's like, that's really beneficial. But journalism that is thoughtful and has the chance to consider an audience and has the chance to consider its position, I think is something that we lose in the age of internet news.
Yeah.
Um, and it's something that local newspapers really keep alive. And I miss it a
Yes,
lot of the time.
yes, it's true. It's true. Well, thank you. And then also, Dennis is bisexual, as are you. And this
Yeah.
is, I know I'm not outing you.
No one knows, Tracy.
What are you saying?
Oh my God.
Uh, um, this is an incredibly rare thing to have happen. First off, a bisexual character anywhere. Now we have a bisexual person of color playing bisexual on a network TV show. That's
Yeah.
huge. Would you talk about what that means to you to be kind of carrying that mantle?
It's it's one of those things that I was really and the producers, David and Casey were really careful about because as important as it is, I never wanted it to feel like it was some boxes that we were checking because it was fun or interesting to do. I wanted to make sure that Dennis was a character and was being written as a character just because he exists and people exist like this in the world.
Yeah.
Someone like this works at a factory or on your job, at a McDonald's or whatever, and exists at this newspaper. And I wanted to be purely for that. And whatever came out of it would be kind of icing on the cake. And the beauty of it is doing this role has been kind of healing for me.
Mm.
When I was growing up, there wasn't a word for bisexual that I knew about. And so I remember, being this kid in elementary school and everyone's talking about who they like. And I just didn't understand, like, which team am I playing for? Is it this and this? And
Right.
once I found out, it was so empowering. And to be able to just wear that, mantle and fly that flag. And maybe there is someone out there who goes like, oh yeah, that's me,
Mhm.
is a beautiful gift to be given and to be able to carry to someone.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. And I am wondering now, do you recall the first time you, maybe it hasn't happened yet. Do you recall the first time that you ever felt as though your identity was being represented on screen?
I've, yeah, I've never actually felt
Mm,
that completely.
yeah.
Um, I think this is part of the reason why Dennis is so interesting to play too,
Mm.
is that it's a very unique story that's not even at the forefront of what this thing is.
Right.
It's kind
But
of funny.
that makes it even better in some ways. It's just in there.
That's true. It's
Yeah.
baked in, and it's like if you're paying attention, then you'll see it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, one of the things that happened with this project that hasn't been like any other show that I've ever done is that before we even went into production, the writers invited me in,
Mm.
and they were just like, "We want to get to know you. What's your story? And what things do you like? What things are you afraid of?" And I just talked to them for like an hour about everything that was me, and then the stories that came out of it were so beautifully tied between my own story and this unique thing we were doing with the character that it's unlike anything I've ever seen on screen before.
Thank you so much to Josh for stopping by. He's definitely a rising star, and I can't wait to see what he does next. You can catch him in the new comedy, Not Dead Yet, Wednesdays on ABC. Our full interview is up now on the Advocate Channel YouTube page. Believe it or not, it's been 25 years since Titanic premiered in theaters. The story of Rose and Jack and their ill fated voyage across the Atlantic is beloved by many. The multi Oscar winning film is celebrating 25 years by releasing a remastered versions to theaters everywhere. Here's a sneak peek.
Take her to see Mr. Murdoch. Let's stretch her legs.
We were looking at all the young actresses up and coming, and Kate's name kept coming up. No, you really need to meet her. I thought, all right, I'll meet her, right?
We set up truly an old-fashioned screen test. And when I say old-fashioned, we found a period set, and we put them in costume.
Rose DeWitt Vicator.
And coming out of that, there was no question in our mind that Kate Winslet was the right person to play Rose.
We had our Rose, we had to find our Jack. Leo went in and just knocked it out of the park.
I saw that in a Nickelodeon once, and I always wanted to do it.
The moment I said action, he turned into Jack, and my jaw hit the floor, Kate's jaw hit the floor, and all of a sudden, there was our Jack.
To make each day count.
Well said, Jack. To making it count. Once I started working with Leo, we were able to kind of find our own rhythm. He had this effervescent energy that was really magnetic. And I remember thinking, oh, this is going to be fun. We're definitely going to get along. And we just really did.
People see them together, and they feel that love again.
Open your eyes.
People associate Titanic with a great love story.
I'm flying! Jack!
I think the reason Titanic has stood the test of time, Jim wrote a story that itself is timeless. The issues that it deals with, the cross-class love story, it's still relevant today.
I've got $10 in my pocket. I have nothing to offer you, and I know that.
I believe in a theatrical experience. I believe that there's something that happens in a theater, and you're sitting in that dark room, time just goes away.
I think you are drawn into these characters, you are drawn into the jeopardy, and I think people owe it to themselves to see it on the big screen.
It's all more alive and more present.
Listen to me. I've got you.
I won't let go.
Oh, God!
Hold on!
I'll never let go.
Thank you for joining me on this Advocate today. You can open the Advocate channel wherever you stream or online at advocatechannel.com for more of my full interviews and entertainment news. I'm Tracy E. Gilchrist. I'll see you next time.